Hello class, this is Dr. Flood back with another video. This video is going to be on how you create your two assessments for your study. And so let's get into it. So first, what I have to do is I have to go and get my test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this list that I have in Canvas for you, where you're going to find what your variable is, and next to it in bold is going to be the assessment that you're going to use to measure your variable. So in this example, I'm going to be using discipline as my variable. And so the assessment that I'm going to use to measure discipline is the harsh discipline scale. So I'm going to highlight that, copy it, all right? And then I'm going to go to the Wildcat Web, however it looks on your end, because I know it looks a little bit different for students. I'm going to go to the BCU library. All right, I'm going to scroll down to search databases. I'm going to press on P for Paul, and then I'm going to scroll down till I get to psych tests. All right, and then I'm going to paste the name of my assessment into this search query box. Yeah, I'm going to take out the parentheses. So the harsh discipline scale. I'm going to press search. And I'm going to look for the one that matches perfectly with it. So here goes the harsh discipline scale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on the PDF full text. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to read what the test format. And so this one, it says response categories range on a 5-point continuum with 1 equals never, 3 about half the time, and 5 equals always. And then I'm going to look at the questions, right? So there's 4 items or 4 questions. All right. All right. And so what I'm going to do with this, right, with the response format, I am going to try and match this response format with what I have for my Likert scale examples. So let me make a split screen so I can show you. So let's see. Okay. Let's see here. So here is the Likert scale examples for surveys. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and match these response items to ones that I see here. All right, so 1 is never and 5 is always. All right, so let's go down until I see this. Well, under frequency, I see something that does match this. So we have always as a response, and then we have never as a response. And this has to do with frequency, which is the same thing that this has to deal with, frequency. So I'm going to use this as my response set. And for 3 about half the time, I'm going to keep 3 as about half the time and replace that, and not replace it with sometimes. So over here it says sometimes. I'm going to keep, oh, well, no, I'm sorry. There is a better one. So always, usually about half the time, seldom, and never. All right, so we're going to use this one right here because that one is exactly what we need. All right, so once we have that, then we're going to move to the next step, all right, which is we're going to pull up our template, all right, and here is our assessment template, all right, and we are going to put the name of the template right here. I mean, the name of the assessment right here. So the name of our assessment, let's split screen this as well so you can see what I'm doing. The name of our assessment, once again, is the Harsh Discipline Scale. So I'm going to get rid of this part, and I'm going to put in capital letters, Harsh Discipline Scale. All right. And then what I'm going to do, all right, in here is where I'm going to put my responses. So that the reader knows what the responses equal. For 1 equals this response, 2 equals this response, etc. So let's pull up the Likert scale that we were going to use. All right, and let's put in the assessments where, let's see, 1 equals never. So let's start from there. So in here, 1 equals never. Let's get rid of the capital letters. 2 equals seldom. 3 equals about half the time. All right. 4 equals usually, and 5 equals always. All right, so let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, let's see. Well, before I do that, so let's see. So we copied the name of the scale. We put in the instructions. Oh, well, I mean, we put in the responses. All right. Then we're going to put in the instructions. So let's say, we're going to go back to here and look for if there are any instructions for this assessment. Normally the instructions would be right here on the second page, or would be somewhere right here. If there's no instructions, all right, what you're going to write is this. And so let's put that in here. If there's no instructions, I'm going to show you an example where there are instructions. But if there's no instructions, we're going to put a generic instructions in here. We're going to put the following reflects some beliefs, opinions, and attitudes of people. Read each statement and give your honest feelings about the beliefs and attitudes expressed. Period. So that's the instructions. All right. And then underneath the response codes, I have, there are no right or wrong answers, only the answer that best expresses your present feelings about the statements. Please respond to all of the statements. Do not omit any. Bubble in your choices in the space provided. All right. So let's say you have a variable and you looked up the PDF for this assessment, and it does have instructions. Let me show you an example of that. So over here, I have the attitudes toward abortion questionnaire. All right. And so I'm going to scroll down, right? And this one is, the instructions are, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement? abortion should be made illegal, 1 to 7. All right, so those are the instructions for this particular assessment. And each assessment may or may not have explicit instructions. All right, okay. So let's move on to the next part of this. All right, so now what we have here in this harsh discipline scale that we're creating, we have here the 6, 7, and 8. Those are blank because we don't need those response items, right? So we have to get rid of them. So what you're going to do is you're going to highlight these response items, all right? Then you're going to right click, all right? And you are going to press delete. And then you're going to press delete cells. And then you're going to press shift cells left. Now, when I do this, 6, 7, 8 are going to disappear. But let's say you needed this whole row to disappear. Well, you could highlight the whole row and say delete entire row. All right. And then that would make the whole entire row disappear. But for this case, I only want 6, 7, and 8 to disappear. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. So now that's been erased. 6, 7, and 8. All right. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to adjust our question response options. So here we have 1 through 5 as options, but over here we have options 1 through 8. So we don't need options 1 through 8. We only need options 1 through 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight options 6, 7, and 8. Now this may change if you have 4 options, then you would highlight 5, 6, 7, and 8. It all depends on what your assessment responses look like. For mine, I don't need 6, 7, and 8 as response choices. All right. So I'm going to highlight 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to right click. I'm going to press delete. And then I'm going to go to delete columns. And voila, the columns have been deleted. All right. Now, depending on the length of your assessment, all right, the template that I have goes all the way down to 42 questions. So you would need to erase 6, 7, and 8 over on this page as well. You need to erase 6, 7, 8 on this page as well. Also, you would need to adjust 6, 7, and 8 on this page as well as the third page. Additionally, for me, and I'm going to do this at the end, but for me, I only have 4 questions, so I'm just going to erase those 2 last pages. So I don't need those. All right. All right. So let's continue. So I'm just working on this first page because this is where all the information that I'm going to use is going to be on. So the next thing is, well, let's go back to it. I only have 4 questions. Right. So let's look at these. The harsh discipline scale. I have 4 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So, because I only have 4 questions, over here, it goes 1 through 15. All right. And so I need to erase everything including 5. So let's get rid of that. All right. So for this, I'm going to right click again. After I highlight it, I'm going to right click. And then I'm going to press delete. And this time I'm going to press delete rows. And now I have deleted the rows that I don't need. All right. Now, since I have all these done, I'm going to start typing in my research, my items or questions for this particular assessment. So I'm going to make a split screen once more so I can see the questions. So I can, in this, I can even copy and paste this, but be careful because it may not come in correctly. Or I can just type what I see here. So I'm going to type what I see here. So when you did something wrong, how often did your mom, dad lose her temper and yell at you? All right, that's question one. All right, and for question two, when, right, so this is question two. When you did something wrong, how often did your mom, dad spank or slap you? All right, now we go to question three, right, which is right here. When punishing you, did your mom, dad ever hit you with a belt, paddle, or something else? All right, and then you have question four, the last question. All right, when you did something wrong, how often did your mom, dad tell you to get out or lock you out of the house? All right, so those are the questions I've typed into here. All right, and so in this I have the three things that I need. I have the title of my assessment, I have the instructions for my assessment, I have the responses that are going to be used to answer my assessment. All right, I also have the questions with the responses next to them. So now when the reader goes, oh, one corresponds to never, right? When I read question one, all right? So the next thing that I would need to do is I would need to delete or erase excess papers. So let me erase this. So I'm going to highlight all this and press backspace. And if I have an extra page, well, I don't want that. I'm going to backspace again. So I don't want extra pages. So don't give that to me, or else I'm going to send it back to you and ask you to get rid of the extra pages. All right. All right. And then what you're going to do is you're going to save this. All right. And you're going to send it to me via Canvas. Now, let's say, right, let's say that you have an assessment where it doesn't match any of the response categories. So here is the attitudes toward abortion scale, right? Attitudes toward abortion questionnaire, I should say. All right, and this one, it has, these are the response items on a 7-point scale. It goes 1, should definitely be illegal, 4 is unsure, and 7 should definitely be legal. So there's no 2 or 3, there's no 6 or 7. It's only 1, 4, and 7. So for something like this, right? If we look on this scale right here, we don't really see anything that matches with this exactly. All right. So we're going to have to, yeah, I'm trying to look to see right now, but there's nothing really here that matches this. So for this particular question, when if I go back to my assessment, I would put, right, let me make this a little bit, well, let's make this, let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's make this a little bit bigger. All right. So for one, in this example, right, let's say I changed the title, I changed the instructions. All right. I need to change the response items. So in this one, I would put should definitely be illegal. For number two, I wouldn't have anything. All right. And for three, I wouldn't have anything. Right. And four would be unsure. And seven should definitely be legal. And it would change that to a 7. All right. So I can play with this. What I can do is I could put, if I really wanted to put something in there, I could put 2, because it looks like this is going from like never to always. So if I find a 7-point response scale, let's go here. 7 points response scale that goes from never to always, then I could probably put that in here. So let's see. Never was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6. Let's go 3-point scales, 5-point scales. I'm trying to look for one that makes the most sense, if I can find one. That may not always be the case. But I can play around with this. So let's say over here, here's a 6.1, right? Where 1 is, well, so I don't really want to play with this like that. But what I can do is something in the instructions, I could put, something to the effect of, hey, items, item or responses 2 and 3 are more illegal than 4, and responses 6 or responses 5 and 6 are more legal than 4. All right. And this tells the reader, based off what it is, based off the responses, how to think about how to answer that in between the ones, the responses that aren't explicitly stated. All right. So it's kind of convoluted. You'll have to play around with it a little bit. All right. But I'm sure all of y'all can do it. All right. And so once again, here is how you create your assessments. All right. Now you are going to this should be, when you submit this to me, there should be two separate documents. You're going to create a Word document for your first assessment and then a second Word document for your second assessment. Do not put these two assessments on the same document, because when you have to send it off to the IRB, they have to be separate. All right, so do that when you're creating this. All right, it should be one document, one assessment per document. All right. All right, and let's see. All right, and then that would be it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can shoot me an email on Canvas or on my regular email. Thank you, and y'all have a great day.